We're up, and welcome to. Oh, what's going on with chat, Lisa? There's no chat. It's not working. Okay. We're live, so everyone just bear with. I know we're live, but we've got no chat. We've got no chat for some reason. So I'm just got my technician working on it.
I don't think it's going to work this evening.
No internet, it says.
Yeah, that's not right, is it? I think you guys are just going to have to wing it. And
really won't have any questions though.
No, I know. That's because your internet is
yeah. It's nothing to do. We're live.
You're live, but no audience participation.
That's going to be very sad. Come on, we've got to be able to sort that out.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you guys share what you've been up to?
Yeah.
Well, I'll have a look on my phone and see what we can do.
Okay, go on.
All right, you do that.
Technicians away. Okay, so it's is this the third one we've done? I think this is the third engine room chat we've done, and it's just the three me on. It's what?
I've got chat. Hi guys,
I've got chat as well.
Oh, it's just me then, Lisa.
Just the host.
Yeah, it's the host without chat. Everybody else is good.
Well, in that case, why doesn't Jeff and Dave shout out the questions?
Okay. Can they put them on?
I don't know. I don't know.
Can you hover over them and press, or will they show? Does it come up?
I don't think so because we're not hosting it.
Never mind. At least you got chat.
Okay, I'll have to get you to run through them at the end.
Yeah. Off you go.
Okay, so sorry about that slight delay, people. So it's our third episode of it. The first thing we're gonna kick off with is stuff that we've done on our boats in the last week or so. So I'm gonna kick off with Dave's story. What have you been up to, Dave?
Thanks a lot. No, I haven't been doing much in week, obviously because it was still cold, but took advantage of the lovely weekend to take our front left window out. We've got big, what I call big bus windows, 4 foot by 2 foot, and they've got a full sliding panel. And our front left window, for whatever reason, wouldn't open. So, with the weather being great, I decided to take
it out.
Yeah, dig all the expanding foam or the insulation out because I used M4 nuts and bolts to hold the window in.
Okay, were they all right? Were they still in good nick? Did you get them out all right?
Yeah, I used stainless bolts with nylon nuts on. So yeah, window came out all right. Cleaned it all down, got it open. Didn't use any adhesive to put it back in. Sat it on some foam rubber seal, self-adhesive tape that I got. That they use in water treatment plants. I pinched it from my last workplace. Yeah. He's gone bust. He'll never know. Yeah.
People get nicking their tape.
Yeah. So yeah, I just put the tape onto the shell, sat the window onto it, and pulled the window frame up onto the tape, and the tape sort of like took any unevenness out on the shell and the window frame, and it's waterproof, so it does a double job, seals it. So yeah, that was my job on Saturday.
Well, it work?
It works. You still have to get. I think we find that in summer all the other windows open fine. It was just that one, but in winter, I think when boat contracts, all the other windows are still a bit stiff. They do open, but when the boat gets warmer, the shell actually gets hotter. It sort of like expands and the other windows. So I'm hoping that in the summer, this window will open a lot easier. It does open now. You just have to get a little bit angry with it to open it. So yeah, and then on Sunday I bought a new fender from Turbo, new button, fitted that, put some new chains on, put some hose over the chains because the chain had corroded over the years and sort of like marked the paintwork. So I put some hose over that to take the paintwork. So that went well, and I fixed the new tunnel light because we had a crash cover in last summer, and it covered the tunnel light because the tunnel light were in Weldeck. The crash cover then covered it. So I bought a new tunnel light, mounted that on front on top of his Archfoot water tank, and I mounted it on a foldable stand. So when we lift the arch up for the water tank, you can actually fold it down and it's out of the way. So yeah, it were a busy weekend, but everything went all right.
Good. That sounds cool. Right, Jeff.
What have I been up to?
What have you been up to, mate? Well, I know some of it.
Well, I put the TV aerial up on a pole, bolted up on the front of the crack frame.
Yeah, saw that.
And then extended the aerial cable and put a socket inside so we don't have to have it hanging out the window like we have done.
Yeah.
Because there's always a gap in the window with a cable hanging through. Then I put that changeover switch so that I don't have to unplug the fuse box from the mains, say Shoreline, and then unplug it and then go and plug it into the inverter. So I wired it up now. I've got changeover switch, so we just change it from the inverter to Shoreline or off.
Yeah, like a big switch. It was actually one I had. I gave to Jeff. It was spare in the back of the boat.
I was just about to ask him where he got that from because I've got that set up where I unplug the Shoreline and then plug it in to the inverter.
Yeah, I had a two-gang switch down the back, which is originally made for someone had bought the kit for the generator in our boat, so that you could switch it over so the generator had a regulator on it, and it had this switch so it would regulate the speed to make sure it didn't over rev to power, to mess the power, because there's no regulation on the generator. It just the more you rev it, the more power it pops out. So it was. I'm never going to fit that. So it was really complicated, and it looked like it was. So
okay, but it was. I'll give my mate. He showed me how to wire it up. Got a box to put it in, and then mounted it in the back of the boat. And then I ordered the battery charger so it can't come on with the inverter. Because I've had, like you did, I've had it on a couple. I've had the inverter on charging the batteries, so we don't want that.
Yeah, I've done the same. I've done
it now. So it's in
yeah.
Switch on it as well.
We've got a question from Wirral Channel. Technically speaking, what differences do you have between a summer and a winter boat setup?
Differences. Boat setup, I don't really know. I mean, I don't think you change it. I don't really change, apart from I tried some of that that secondary glazing window stuff this winter, which I've never done before. I don't really change anything about our boat apart from putting our crash covers on now, because just to stop the rain and the cold coming through the crack, the covers, because we've got six of them. But I don't really change anything as long as we keep it all warm.
Sorry, hold on.
Just have the heating on more.
Yeah, he's got a telephone call on his phone that he's streaming on.
Busy man.
Yeah.
I'll put it on flight mode. Oh
no, you'll cut the internet off then.
Oh no, don't do that.
Just
do not disturb.
Do not iPhone. Flick the thing on the side down.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Jen.
Yeah. So and then the last you did those little cleats, didn't you?
The little cleats on the side, didn't we? So stop. Because I've got a box on the roof. When we were in the locks and we were pulling it by hand, if you're not careful, you were up against the box trying to pull it along. So I needed them cleats, so we put them cleats on, didn't we?
Yeah, a couple of little cleats, drilled dowels and self-tapped them, but sort of locking screws in them. Yeah, so that made that I've got a set of them. I haven't done mine yet. I thought I'd let Jeff have a go first. Make any mistakes that I then make,
and then learn from him.
Yeah. And I haven't done mine yet, but we put them, and I presume this is right, Dave, because you might know because you built your boat pretty much. Is I put the cleats right on the edges because the whole point of them is to protect the edge of the boat.
It's not something I've got on changing pace, to tell you the truth. But everybody I've seen, because we ain't got a centre rope. We've got 2 centre ropes, but we've got a stainless steel handrail that runs down the side of the boat.
Right, so you don't need
about
to worry
6 inch from side of roof.
Yeah.
We tie we loop our centre ropes round that, so we don't use cleats, and it's easy just to unloop it and move it further up boat if we need to or whatever.
Yeah.
And it helps when Lou's single handing, because she's got 2 ropes coming down to where she's steering. And when she goes into a lock, depending on which side she wants to climb out, she's got a rope either side.
Yeah, we got 2 ropes as well. Yeah.
All cleats I've seen on boats are virtually right on edge.
Yeah, that's where we put them.
Yeah, so we put them because obviously
right angle that bolt up against them, and then you screw them down, don't you?
Yeah.
They got like a lid,
Yeah.
but these will do the job. It just stops you from pushing the box along.
Yeah, and it's just a mark because the right that on ours it just rubs the paint away when you tie off on the middle, it just touching the boat, the top of the paintwork. So the idea is it keeps it away from it. But so that's you done anything else, Jeff, on your boat?
I think that was better. I've done the battery charger, the changeover switch, the aerial, and the rest of the time I've been doing the garden.
Excellent. So this
what
week,
have you been up to, Glenn?
what have I been up to? I stripped all the wiring out for the solar charger. What do you call it? Panel. The solar controller, because originally I had a really cheap Chinese one on there, and the wires on it were like speaker wire. It was like a speaker. It was awful. And I thought I need to upgrade that because I've got an extra panel now. So I'm running quite a few watts for it when it's sunny. And that wire was and it was way too long as well. And a friend of ours who does it, he said to me, you really want to keep those wires to the batteries as short as possible. So I moved it. I've moved the controller just above the battery bank now. So the wires are probably about 2 foot maybe. And they're a lot thicker. I've used a much thicker grade, and I've fused it at the by the battery now as well. I also upgraded the wires on. Well, I didn't upgrade them actually. I just moved the fuses because it was a bit of a schoolboy error. I put the fuses for our charger just under the charger, then ran the wires down to the batteries, and the fuses were getting really hot.
That's where mine are. Mine are just below the charger.
Oh, you got massively thick wires on yours, though, haven't you?
I know, but they look massive, but they're not when you strip them.
Yeah, but I noticed when I had the first one I had in there was a 20 amp fuse, and it hadn't popped, but it started to melt the outer thing. So because obviously since we've been here, obviously we use ours a lot more. Obviously, it's running at 20. It's been running at 20 amps like for a lot of the time. Charging the starter battery because I've got it looped into that as well. No heat at all, but charging the bank of 5 leisure batteries, it was getting hot. So I've upgraded it. I've moved the fuse down to the battery bank, and I'll check that next week to make sure that that's not getting hot down there because the wire's not getting hot anymore. It's staying stone cold. So I've checked that. So I did that. I also did the plug thing as well. So our charger only comes on if we're plugged into a shoreline, or basically it's something plugged into the shoreline.
Switch in it. Did you put a switch in it as well?
It's a switch. No, it's just a on and off switch. It's just a plug.
No, I want one into the back of the socket that comes in. So when you're on shoreline, it will come on automatically, or I can turn it off but keep the power going.
Right.
So I can turn it off, completely off. Right.
Yeah, but turn it off by the switch.
Yeah.
The switch. It's just a plug. It's just a switch plug.
Yeah, on and off switch. That's what.
Yeah. I've done that. So basically now what I'm doing more, which I haven't done, we never used to do, what I used to have to do is go down the bottom of the boat, flip anything over to 1, which was generated when the shoreline was on, and then I had to make sure that I turned the charger on. Now what I do is I run the inverter on all the time. So I leave it on inverter switch 3, let's say, and then I flick the generator on, and all it does is run the charger and charges the batteries. It's only if I'm using something juice heavy like washing machine or coffee that I'll switch it over.
Yeah, I could hear it cutting in and out with your coffee machine the other morning.
Yeah.
That does. The old generator.
Yeah. it bunkers down when it needs that and the washing machine. But we've actually started using the washing machine on a cold wash now with some cold detergent. We're not using it on hot, and it's using no power. It's next to nothing. The generator hardly blips when it does it now, and it seems to be working. The clothes seem to be coming out all right. So happy days on that. And I did my aerial as well on the front of our boat, but I bought a little tiny one, and it don't flipping work. So
that's what I got the tip at one of the rubbish points at Linslade. It was laid on the floor. Well, I tried that and it works fine.
Yeah, just got a free tip aerial.
Yeah.
So we've got a chance, I'm just going to say hello to a few people that's sort of like on. Is hello Paul Lumsden. He's made a sarky comment about me having a lie-in while loose single-handing. That never happens. Barely floating evening. Trev's travels by narrowboats. Hi guys, he was watching telly, but he's changed over to laptop so he can comment. And somebody from narrowboat changing pace saying that she loves the free sunshine electric. I wonder who that can be.
I wonder who that can be. Yeah. So was that it, Dave? Was that all of them?
Yeah. Trev's just put no sunshine in rugby today. Well, there are no sunshine here today.
We got a little
over the weekend. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I was just about to speak about that because we've obviously been here at the weekend, and I was so impressed on how much just a little bit of sun at the weekend, even though it wasn't, it's not like summer at all, but the difference it made to the generator usage was massive. The batteries were, even with the inverter on, was still kicking out I think it was up to 13.9 volts, 14 volts, just off of the solar panels with the inverter on as well, just using like chargers and stuff like that. So it was really, really good. And it meant that just at the end of the day, when the sun went down, I just kicked the generator on for like an hour and then turned it off just to see us through to the night. But today it was really horrible this morning, cloudy and cold. And then when we got back this afternoon, it was sunny here for about a couple of hours. So I just tilted the panels towards the sun just to get as much as I could. But I was going to say, so you had a good weekend, but you've had nothing today.
Nothing, no sun whatsoever really today. But I haven't had the battery charger on. I mean, we're hooked up to landline while we're in Marina, but we've started since beginning of last week. We've started taking it off the landline, putting it into inverter, and I still haven't had to charge the batteries up. They're still running at 90%. So
really?
for over a week, the only time we put it onto landline with a front washing machine, then unplugged it, put it back on inverter, and we're still at 90% when I came home from work today. 94%.
Is that
So
picking up the weekend?
even today, we normally drop about between 10-15% over a day if there's no sun whatsoever, and we haven't dropped hardly any this week at all, including today. So even when it's a bit hazy, you still get that.
What batteries you got in yours?
How many batteries? 5 batteries.
What are they? Are they lead acid?
They're Lucas sealed cell deep cycle batteries.
Just normal,
Yeah,
not AGMs or anything like that.
No, they're not AGMs, but they an upgraded leisure battery. They're done for a lot of cycles. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than just a normal leisure battery. It were what South Yorkshire Battery Services. That's all they do, batteries, and that's what they recommended, and they've been spot on. So
when you give it, whenever you give a reading, you give it in percentage. Whereas me and Jeff always work in voltage. So what have you got a percentage?
I've got a smart gauge,
right?
And I think on one of earlier chats we were on about the wiring of the batteries, different wiring setups.
Yeah.
And this guy who developed the smart gauge actually came up with one of the wiring diagrams that we were on about, with same length cables going to a point.
Yeah.
A single point. So yeah, I think it were about 100 quid. And it's only about 3 or 4 wires, put it to you, and it monitors your engine, starter battery, and your battery bank, and it just tells you your state of charge. It's got a voltmeter on side of it as well, so you can flick between your leisure batteries, your starter, and whatever voltage they're showing, and it shows you percentage state of charge. So for what it costs, it's ideal, because you just press button and you go, all right, down to 55%. I need to put charger on. Dead right. I recommend them, and it's just it's about 2 inch by 3 inch, just an LED display.
Right. And on the back knee batteries.
We've got it on as whereas fuse board is on inside at boat. We've just got it in between 2 fuses, so you just go up and press it. It's easily available.
Do you know what make it is? I'm testing you now.
I don't. But if you Google smart gauge, it'll come up.
Or a variation of it will come up anyway.
I think there is a couple, but there's I think the other ones I've seen are vastly more expensive. But
sorry, how much was yours again?
It was just over 100 quid.
So not massive amounts.
Not a massive amount.
No.
And it's easily understandable for Louise as well, rather than trying to explain the voltages and that. Yeah. It's easier for to just press button and see percentage. And
what are you saying, Dave? What are you saying, Dave?
I'm saying I'll do anything to make it easier for Louise.
Excellent answer. Good answer.
So we've got a few more questions, I think.
Yeah, go for it.
Barely floating. I need to take my diesel pump off. And I've just lost it. Can you see that, Jeff?
No, it's just gone off the bottom of the screen. Something about it's a 1.5 diesel. Is there any good YouTube videos or something?
What?
I can't move it down for some reason. It's disappeared off the bottom of the page.
I can't see nothing.
Hold on.
Everything. Ask him.
I need to take
Ask him to start again.
I need to take my diesel pump off my 1.5 BMC engine. Any good videos you can recommend on YouTube?
It's
Well,
easy anyway.
we used to have a BMC as well, but because I presume it's the lift pump. It's a lift pump on there, isn't it? I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a diesel pump, isn't it? He's not on about lift
Yeah,
pump.
it runs off a crank or cam on crank, I think.
The lift
Outside
pump.
the engine.
That's what he's on a lift pump wheel, but that looks like diesel pump. Does he mean the injection pump?
I don't know.
Because you're talking about the injection pump from the tank or the pump that runs the injectors.
Yeah. They'll have to clarify that question for us.
Yeah. Melanie C, looking at getting a new build, is it worth the cost for a bow thruster and resulting smaller water tank?
I haven't got that.
Depends how long the boat is. Depends how long the boat is, really, doesn't it? I would say if you're new to boating, and I mean we're 70 foot and we've obviously got a bow thruster, but you do get used to not using it. But I must admit, I find it a lot easier with it if I've got a tight turn to do. It does make life a little bit easier. It depends how big the boat is. I mean, our old boat never had it. 45 foot never had it. Jeff ain't got one, haven't you? Have you, Jeff?
We're 55 foot. We ain't got one.
I mean, I've used that, and I've helped. I've helped Liam with a 70 foot wide beam with no bow thruster, and that it wasn't easy, but it wasn't impossible.
No,
you
have to got one.
Yeah. No, I think at the end of the day, I think it is down. If you haven't got one, you haven't got one. And I just think people get used to it. So,
Sure.
if you're a novice boater, it would probably be useful. But if not, I mean, none of the rentals have them. None of the rental boats.
He's on about the injection pump, not the lift pump.
Oh, is he the injection pump?
Yeah.
Trev's answered that question as well. He says, personally, I would have the larger water tank, much more useful than a bow thruster. I single-hand a 60-foot boat with no problems without a bow thruster. I suppose, like you've said, it depends on your experience and length of boat, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think and personal preference. As I say, no hire boats have them in that I've seen. And they're 70 foot and they're novices. So, I mean, I know sometimes you watch them turn and you think, oh, maybe you need a bow thruster, but it's I think personal preference on that.
Louise has answered the smart gauge question. It's a Merlin smart gauge.
A Merlin. Mate.
Oh, it's an injection pump, not the lift pump. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen. I'll just Google it. I'll just Google it. YouTube.
Depending if it comes in that, is it in a rotary pump or is it an inline pump? I need to find that out. Because the rotary pump's normally got a master spline and it's normally got a scroll mark down the side of the casing. So when you drop it back in, you line your mark back up, tighten it up, and then put your injector pipes back on.
Right.
It's not hard. Depending, the rotary ones normally drop down, or an inline one will go in the front of the engine.
Right. I'm just trying.
I'm not sure which one it is on 1.5.
Oh,
so I had the BMC, but that were a 2.5, and that were a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah, we had a 1.5 in our old boat, but I never had to touch it. So, not the injector side of it. Just go on YouTube, have a look. There's going to be some videos on there.
It's not.
A lot of people.
Just keep everything clean. That's all you got to do when you take it to bits.
Yeah, to make sure. Is he having it replaced, or is he just refurbing it, or what?
Don't know.
Not that it matters, but
our comments disappeared now. It says she said thanks, guys. Anyway, okay. Sasha said she never found a bow thruster useful, but then again, she's an experienced boater, ain't she? Again,
He says I have a bow thruster and never use it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people with electric ones, particularly, I think the maintenance side of an electric one is, and the amount you can actually use it, you get a 10-second blast, don't you? And then you've got to leave it, and then you've got to you know, I can see why people don't. I mean, ours is a little bit different, but being hydraulic, I can leave it running for as long as I want. So
yeah,
His pump's going for refurb.
oh, is it? It's going for refurb.
Well, you done yours, didn't you?
I did. Mine was. It was. I was very careful keeping mine. If it's going for refurb, obviously taking it out, not so worried about keeping it clean. It's just when it comes back. But keeping, I made sure that all my injectors had. I actually put tin foil on top. I didn't have any cling film.
Little red things, little caps that screw on.
Yeah.
And just over them out of the way. Just stops the shit going in.
Yeah, I did that. I did. I covered all of ours and kept all the pipes clean and also covered the engine because it made a hole in the side of the engine when I took mine out, as in you could see where it went.
Well, he's got to watch if it is a rotary one and it dropped down, just clean round it before you pull it out because anything can go in.
Yeah, just make sure there's no.
If it's a rotary one, it goes downwards, or it's an inline one, it will go in forward like yours.
Yeah. I can't remember what drove mine.
It'd be off a load of gears.
Yeah, must have been.
Crankshaft gears and another gear. And
Oh no, it pushed from underneath. Yeah, it was a mini crankshaft that made it just like a mini crankshaft that pushed the pistons on from the bottom in time. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
you got if it's an inline one that goes in, you got to make sure it's timed up. But normally on a rotary one, you'll see a mark that's sort of cut into the casing. You drop it down, they're elongated slots, so you can turn the pump.
yeah,
So you locate the main, like a master key, if you like. You drop it, line it up at a drop down, and then you just turn it back to where your mark is and do it up.
yeah. That should
a
be
bit like a timing mark.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah,
You can put your own in. If you know where it is, you put centre dot, put two centre dots, one in the casing and one on your block, and then whip it out.
yeah. If you can't find anything, just make your own.
As long as it's the rotary one with the master key, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I just can't think on the BMC what sort of pit pump it is.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, I'll hopefully I will get it done. It's definitely everything's doable. I think the biggest thing is when you put it back in, it's getting the thing started again.
Not bleeding it up, yeah. That's just leave the injector pipes loose on the injector end, not the pump end, and just wait until they start dribbling and do them up one at a time.
Yeah, I did that, and I still had an issue. Why did it have an issue? There was another airlock somewhere else, and I cracked the nut.
Always put new copper washers on all the bolts, the banjo bolts. Always put new copper washers.
Yeah, that's all. Because when I had my injectors all refurbed, he gave me new copper washers for all of the injectors as well. Yeah,
well, when you put one of them on, just a little bit of grease, stick it onto the injector, so then when you drop it down the hole, it sticks on the injector as it goes down.
I did exactly that, Jeff. After your advice,
a little bit of grease and just
so the copper thing don't drop off the bottom of the.
Talking about trying to get it lined up again with the hole.
Yeah, I did exactly those things.
Yeah, easy, isn't it?
And it did work. It was a good tip.
Yeah,
it's like the other little tip I've always had well, it's not even always had. I only had it fairly recently. You know when you got bolts that are really hard to get to through an engine, and you're going through something else first, is put a piece of blue roll over the nut before you put the socket on it,
so it don't fall off.
It makes it a little bit of a tight fit onto the socket. So when you feed it in to wherever hole it is, it's going onto it, and then the blue roll can just get you can just pick it out afterwards, or it stays in the socket. So that was a good tip that I had.
The socket a little bit smaller.
Yeah, what the socket?
Yeah, get a little good. Some of them, when they get rusty. You're just about to go and you think it's going to round off. So just get a socket slightly smaller, an imperial one, I was saying, and bang it on with a hammer, then it'll come out.
Yeah.
You always put the bolts in.
Yeah, I bet. Anyway, anything else on those? Anything else? I can't see any chat. I'm looking at a dinosaur picture on my chat. And says
I
the moment.
Go on.
I'm sure of it's rotary one. I'll have a look at the weekend.
Excellent. So hopefully we've made a little bit of difference on that then.
Mhm.
Anything else?
Hopefully we'll help somebody out. Yeah.
Yeah, which is what it's all about. Anything else from anybody else?
No, there's no else coming through that I can see.
No. Okay. Well, it's not. What's the time? I can't even see what the time is.
25 to.
Oh, we've been half an hour. So, anyway, so my only other, I'm going to have a little roundup of conversation just to finish things off. This is not a controversial conversation I'm going to have. I'm going to mention it because it's been big this week. I've got no preference on it, but I know there's been a big thing about composting toilets, and I get it because they are dear. They are not the cheapest things in the world to buy, and I think the main thing is that CRT have got to provide some alternative services. If the bin's not an option, they must, because they just got to, otherwise, really, I think there's going to be a lot of issues if they don't, sort something out with that. I haven't got a composting toilet. I know Jeff hasn't got a composting toilet, and you ain't got, no, thankfully. But we're just going to brush over that. But I'm with basically CRT, as in I'm with CRT providing services for that. I think they need to come up with a plan.
I think it's difficult though, isn't it, Glenn? Because they're relatively new, whereas all the infrastructure and the facilities has been based around Elson and Pumpart.
Yeah.
And then something new comes along, and CRT are criticised for not providing them facilities. But when you think of how many sanitary stations there is on Coe,
yeah,
cost them an absolute fortune to put facilities in every sanitary station.
I don't think it has to be every one. I think it just might have to be particular stations for, and for whatever composting needs, really. For whatever composting needs, which I presume is storage. While it composts, it's a difficult one. I'm not going to get massively into it because I don't want to upset anybody. So, but I understand you got to get rid of it. So I know it's relatively new, but it's meant. Well, you got a comment on there?
Yes, those who bought compost toilets have got a bum deal.
Is that someone put that down as a joke? Well, at the end of the day, it's the more ethical way, I suppose, of disposing of it. But you've got to come up with a solution to dispose of it. So it's got to be sorted out.
Keith from the Tiller people did a really good video on composting toilets yesterday.
Oh, did they?
And somebody from a narrowboat called Changing Pace says, "What about red diesel?"
What about it? It's red.
Yeah, they're not going to be available for much longer, though, is it?
No, apparently I heard that they're not going to. Does that mean it's going to be like full tax on normal diesel, just normal?
Yeah.
I know the marina at Milton Keynes that they were going to come off selling red diesel. It's just going to be normal diesel. Because they spoke about that last year sometime. So I don't know what to say about that, really.
I think it's going to cause a lot of problems because I've got a Barra Shire engine, and it states in the manual that under no circumstances put biodiesel through it, and normal diesel's got a percentage of biodiesel in it.
Has it?
So yeah.
What's the difference?
I think
you might be able to buy a little bottle or something and tip it in,
like you do with the 4-star cars.
Yeah, unleaded and 4-star. So I think it's going to cause a lot of problems where people where their engines were seals going in their engines.
Which exactly
with road deal.
Yeah.
with road diesel.
What's is it? Is it when it's biodiesel? What's the difference of the quality of diesel? Is red diesel rawer? Is it like a rawer material?
They put dye in it, don't they? That's the difference. It's all to do with tax. It's all it's to do. Stop the pikeys nicking diesel and putting it in their motors.
What the red diesel that can't if they don't put biodiesel in red diesel though? Then is that what you're saying?
I think it's exactly the same, but they just put dye in it because in Ireland you can get green diesel as well.
Can you?
Yeah, you get different colour diesels.
I don't know.
The bio stuff is more. I always found when we're working on the trucks, when they was on that bio stuff, you're more suspect to get the plague, what they call the
Diesel bug.
But yeah, you get that a lot more.
Will you?
Mm.
For the bio stuff,
We've never had it on our boat. I always keep it topped up.
So there is a difference then between
something. Yeah, I think it's more bloody greener in it, which made plant extras or something they put in it. It's
plant.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's just it ain't as good. Nothing's as good.
And that must cause is your engine an old engine then, Dave?
No, it's only 5 years old. I had an old BMC 2.5 taxi engine, which we blew up several times, and I got fed up with it and had a Barra Shire put in.
Right.
But there is a warning on the engine about using biodiesel because it knackers the seals up.
Right.
So I think, like you said, hopefully there'll be an additive that comes out that takes that.
Yeah, a couple of people on here said the only difference is the tax, it's the dye. You used to be able to buy a filter. You could get like 5 gallons of red diesel, put it through a filter. It would take a long time, but take the dye out.
I really, that's a lot of messing about.
when you're on the truck, you get pulled by a bosser. They will dip your tank and see you've got red diesel in.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've seen them do
inside of your tank as well. So you can't just use it and think, I'll fill it up with white now. It stays in there.
Does it stay the colour?
Yeah, it stays for quite a while.
Does it?
I think Trev's Travels come up with something about going back to the toilets. He says he has to pay to get his pump out emptied. So what's the difference with composting toilets having to travel and get? And Dave Mallinson says CRT apparently have no statutory need to provide facilities for composting waste.
So
yeah, it's
going to be a sticky one.
It's going to be. Trev's Travels, white and red diesel are the same with red dye.
Yeah.
The only difference is dye for the tax reasons. And Trev's Travels is is made from maize normally.
Yeah.
But I think the difference is I think when it explodes in the compression, I think the temp. I've read somewhere
Temperature.
Yeah, the temperature it burns at is
different.
Higher.
Yeah.
So
that's the same old story with leaded and unleaded fuel. That was the issue, wasn't it? That's why it used to burn the valves out.
That's right.
Because the temperature was different, wasn't it? But was it hard? Was it harder valves or softer valves? I think the valves were softer in floor style, weren't they?
Take the valves and put harder ones in, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I watched a video of someone doing that once. It's I know it's necessary, but it's what a palaver. I used to put additive in the Capri I had. I used to just put the additive in. It weren't hard. You put how much litres in, you squirt a bit of juice in as well. Just kept it in the boot. So, but yeah. So anyway, so if there's no more questions, I think we've covered a range of topics this evening. Even though we started off with a bit of a hip. Well, I've still got no chat, but anyway. So I'll have to get that sorted out for next time. Unless there's anything else to say, I think it's time to go.
Someone just said bio burns slightly hotter.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what we just said. So I guess that.
Yeah, I'd just
but-
like to thank everybody that's tuned in and had a view. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks very much. I see we've got about 32 viewers at the moment, and I think it's been up and down by a few. And obviously, this episode will eventually be just a podcast that you can listen to if you're feeling that way. So my editor will sort that out. Eventually, all of our old ones will be available as a podcast. So there you go. Well, thanks chaps for another first Monday of the month chat, and I will
Hopefully, you'll get your comments sorted out for next time.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Get
I
your
might,
technical guy on it.
otherwise I might have to get a new person to sort it out. Anyway, we'll see. All right, and I'll speak to you later. Thanks everyone for watching, and
Yeah,
speak-
guys. Thank you. Bye.